Hello everyone. So today what I was going to attempt to do is to get the entirety of my Mechanicus collection here painted. It's been around for a while, been a while on the pile of shame, and a lot of people complain about how difficult this army is to paint. I think that's largely down to the fact that you've got a lot of cloth bits, a lot of metal bits. There's not much else. There's a bit of skin on some of them, but it's not a lot. But it's all sort of interwoven, everything is, that makes it more difficult. You know, getting in the legs there, getting on the underside of the robes. Of course you can paint in sub-assemblies, but generally people don't like doing that. They like to have their models assembled so they can play with them. And in this case, these guys are already assembled as well. But I have an idea. I mean, a lot less cloth on this guy. But I have an idea, and I think it's going to sort of be based on utilising an optical illusion in the hopes that I'll get these guys painted up really quick. Some more on that in a bit. I won't report back immediately because first step is to cover these guys in typhus corrosion so you'll get some of that grim dark texture, and then I'll be spraying them black, so I don't think you're going to see much given the current lighting of those first steps. But they're just primed quickly. You see I missed a lot on the undersides. Just put a bit of primer on them very quickly just to get the typhus corrosion on, because I'm not sure how that just sits straight on bare plastic. So I'm going to do that, then spray them back black, and then work on the first couple of steps, and then I'll report back after that's done. So after they were primed black, we dry brushed them with leather brown from Army Painter. We then did random spots of desert yellow, and we finished up with Troll Slayer orange, or wrong way around. No, we didn't. Fire Dragon bright on the faces, and then on like a random spot. So that's where they're up to at the minute. It didn't take very long, and I did it all as one big batch, just to keep things consistent. Just covered all of the robes sort of very quickly and loosely with skeleton bone from Army Painter, and I think that's made a very big difference to things. Yes, I think that's made a big difference. Right, on to the next step. So the next step was to dry brush all the metallic areas with silver, sort of grimy look. I used shining silver from Army Painter, and of course I've left a bit of the rusty orange in spots. Back into focus. On the Cataphront destroyers, this is basically the only colour they've had. I'm not intending to paint the armour panels. I was hoping they'd just do as rust. think that's sort of like an interesting enough colour that'll be okay, but I might have to stipple some of the skeleton bone, that was it, on some of the panels, just to look like chipped paint and keep them in keeping with the rest. So yeah, that was my next step. Now I think I'm going to move on to focusing on any skin and skulls again will need to be brought back. There we go. With I think skeleton bone, and I'll do any purity seals at the same time as well. So I'll report back after that. And we are back. So not a huge transformation with this one. Let's see, I got the purity seals done. They were just skeleton bone and this pure red, and then I'll wash them with Targal Raid Shade, and also did the skin on some of the figures as well. I don't think there's much on this guy. On the skulls. So that was that. Again, not a huge transformative step, but I think it's quite important where you do have little details that you pick them out, because it sort of gives the illusion that you've done a lot more painting than you have otherwise. And now I think the next big step will be any glowy bits, and at that point I'll sort of assess. I might be done then, it might just be basing, so we'll see how we go, and I'll report back after that. So just quickly, I thought I should probably tell you how I do glowy bits. So the first step I've done, as you can see on this guy, is just to put a bit of white in all the areas that I want to be glowy. So there's one on the back of his backpack, his eyes, the thing on top of his head, and the sort of sensor thing just behind his head on the top of his backpack. And then what I'll do is I'll put in some bloodletter glaze onto all the bits that I want to be red. I've got the odd plasma gun looking weapon, I'm not sure because I don't know that much about Mechanicus. They'll get Nihilak oxide just straight on the model as is now, and that does it all on its own. So I'll do that, and then I'll show you the results. Okay, so we did the bloodletter glaze over the white bits. You can see they're now nice and glowy, and I did a couple of coats of Nihilak oxide on the plasma coils. I think now just do some basing. So here's everything finished. Basing wise, I just put some sand on and then locked it in with a 50-50 mix of PVA and water, and then gave it a quick dry brush of mummy robes from Army Painter. I think they use mummy robes. Yeah, mummy robes. And then put some tufts on that I had, and did the edges black. I did end up stippling some skeleton bone on the armour panels for the cataphront, and I did, you can see, do a bit of highlighting on the skin as well with mummy robes, just to bring it out a little bit more. Just can see better on that guy. And that's sort of them done. really happy with how they've come out. And I know this scheme is quick and easy enough that I'm not dreading getting any more and expanding the army. So I'm certainly looking forward to doing that in the new year. I feel like there was something else to say. Oh, I did put a bit of nylon oxide around sort of the power bit of these blades on the Sicarian Rustalkers. Oh, I do need to put some bloodletter over his computer screen there, so I'll do that in a sec. But other than that, yep, they're finished. And oh, what I was going to say is at the start I mentioned this whole thing hinges on an optical illusion. So we'll take this guy again. And what I meant by that was everything's essentially base coated in the same way. So we did those couple of dry brushes to make it look rusty. But then, just ignore the dog a sec. But then the metallics were all highlighted by dry brushing with a metallic, and the robes were essentially overbrushed or dry brushed to bring them out. But everything has the same base coat. So I didn't have to pick things out specifically or be really neat in what I was picking out, and I think that's what slows down painting with Adeptus Mechanicus, is how neat and precise you have to be. But in this case, I really didn't need to be or do that at all, and I think they look really effective. But yes, that's my little painting tutorial. Hopefully if you've got some Mechanicus that you're dreading painting, this sort of inspires you to get onto them. Just because with a few simple techniques you can make them look decent enough in a short amount of time. So thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you in the next video.